What up, YouTube? We are back with a brand new review of a new show on Netflix. You can go ahead and check it out. It's called Record of Ragnarok. The reason I checked this thing out because as soon as I saw this anime that was featured on Netflix, I was like, oh, this kind of scratches that itch that I've had. That itch that being that missing Kenga and Ashura, that Baki itch that I had. I wanted something sort of epic, sort of fighting anime. And this definitely did it. So the first season will sort of give you a whole sort of like starter. So I mean, they didn't rush it. I'm glad they didn't rush it. A lot of times you feel that fight scenes are just rushed, or sometimes they're just long drawn out. But the pacing is good for the fights. I like what they're doing, and definitely I can't wait for a second season, because the way they left it off, you know there's going to be a second season, because they've only touched just the start. It's just been the start. So basically it centers around the whole Ragnarok thing. So all the gods, Norse, Greek, Hindu, all these gods basically have come to a consensus now and said, look, humanity has fucked things up. They fucked up the earth. The earth is just like a wasteland now. Humanity needs to go, and they've had enough chances, and I think this is the end, and we're just going to wipe humanity out and then start again. So the Valkyries step in and they say, wait, hold on. So one Valkyrie, the head Valkyrie is Brunhilde. She steps in and she says, look, and she baits the gods. She says, why just wipe them out? Anyone can wipe them out. Give them a fighting chance. If you're too scared, I understand. So if you're too scared, just wipe them out. So that she baits them, and Zeus is there, and Zeus says, I love this idea, and everyone's like, yeah, why not? We can take out humanity. Why not give them a fighting chance? So the gods are baited into accepting this tournament, and Brunhilde finds 13 warriors, and there's 13 gods. Alright, so let's go into the episode breakdown. So for the spoilers here, the first episode is all about them in the council. The Valkyries basically trying to find and trying to bait the gods essentially as well. The first fight is Thor versus Lubo. Lubo is this Han Dynasty warlord, nicknamed the Flying General. All his supporters are there as well, and basically the episode is around sort of like the first, the second, third and fourth episode. It's basically around Lubo, so the fight between Thor and also this Lubo character as well, who has this tremendous skill. So he basically has trained all his life, and then basically found the ability where he can just basically use his sort of weapon, his scabbard I think it is, and he can just basically cut the sky with one slash. So it all builds up to his final move. Thor coward, completely different to the sort of generic Thors that you might think that the Marvel sort of Thor. And also the hammer looks just weird. It's just some oversized, it's not a typical Mjolnir bioweapon sort of thing, and it talks back to him, so it has those will and everything as well. Into episode 3, the hammer then transforms, and then obviously and also I forgot to mention as well, the Valkyries, there's 13 Valkyries, and they all decide to infuse themselves into the weapons, so to give humanity an actual chance at fighting gods, essentially. So with Lubo, his weapon that he has, which is like a staff and the spear, this spear basically is this Valkyrie infuses herself into the spear, and that she's basically the weapon. So that's basically the way that they can actually fight against these gods. Otherwise, without a weapon, they're just basically humans, and they can't do anything apart from the strength. But anyway, going into episode 4 as well, his legs are crushed. His steed comes out, so it becomes his legs in the battle, and helps him out basically. But unfortunately, it's just not strong enough, and Thor basically crushes Lubo. And Red Hair, which is his horse, eventually just taken out as well, along with the supporters, his friends, his army. Round 1 goes to the gods for now. Round 2 is a complete shock. So you've got the first of humanity, Adam, and you get a little backstory about Adam. Instead of fighting Shiva was meant to be the god who's meant to be fighting up second. Zeus decides he wants a peace, and he decides to step in, and it's the fight between Zeus and Adam's sort of ace in the hole here is his divine reflection. So he can basically mimic any attack. so he can this is how he fights Zeus. He has also the Valkyrie as well that are assisting him, and the Valkyrie becomes his brass knuck. So his ability is just close quarter combat, it's one-to-one sort of combat. At the same time, he's able to use his divine reflection to mimic any ability that Zeus has. I think he goes for the meteor jab that Zeus basically uses, the divine axe as well, which is like a chop kick, all that sort of stuff. And then finally, punch that can stop time. So basically it's like a punch that he does, which is basically just time freezes, and it's an ability that he learned from Kronos, his father. And at the same time you learn that Adam can also do this as well. So but then finally you see that Zeus comes back. Zeus's final form is Adamas, which is basically his brother as well. You learn about his brother as well, who's like this, like 4 brothers, like, you know, sons of Kronos. And his final form is Adamas, where basically all his muscles are compressed and more focused, and he's able to deliver attacks a lot more quicker. And this eventually becomes Adam's weakness, because he just can't keep up. His mind is shattering. His mind just can't keep up. His divine reflection, he's using it constantly just to fight off Zeus, and unfortunately that becomes his downfall. And he finally he does take down Zeus down to his knees, but we learn that he dies while using divine reflection. And he's basically just, and after death he keeps punching away at him as well, which means that the gods are up 2-0. The final fight, now Poseidon is the next god that steps into the fray, and they're going to go up against the Japanese samurai. Is nicknamed the greatest loser because all his life he's been losing fights, but every time he loses fights he learns simulate the fights before, and then basically read the opponent's moves. You find some backstory about this guy as well. There's Kojiro Sasuke. We learn that he's actually killed, but then somehow he still keeps learning in his afterlife. Like I said, the Valkyries are assisting. One of the Valkyrie that comes down is called Hiss, and then she has the power that's basically of both sides. One was mad, one was sane or something. So anyway, Hist has basically 2 sides to her, and she basically infuses herself into his sword, so he's able basically to have a fighting chance against Poseidon. Poseidon, we learned that he actually killed Adamas, and obviously then because Adamas wanted to rebel, the oldest brother being Hades, then Adamas, then Poseidon, and Zeus being the youngest. And basically Poseidon was like, well, you know, to be an actual god, he don't need an army, only one person should be strong enough. So we learned that Poseidon killed Adamas, and then obviously then that's where this whole sort of thing comes from as well, where we learned that his final form was also Adamas as well as Zeus's final form. But anyway, apart from that, going with this fight as well, Kojiro Sasuke basically has this final move where he basically is able to then cut finally Poseidon. Poseidon basically increased his speed, his strength and everything, and then finally Kojiro is actually hurt by this as well, bleeding. His sword is smashed in half. Being hissed, having 2 sides, the sword regenerates and he has the power to come back, allowing him to tap into another strength, who actually, in fact, we learn that he kills Masamune kills him, and he has basically the 2 sword style as well. He has other abilities that he's learned fighting all these different people in his lifetime as well, and all these sort of people that he's fought, and he's all the abilities that he's learned to help basically with his battle. And finally we learned that he's actually able to then outpace Poseidon, and finally Poseidon's actually killed, in fact, which is crazy. So the humans finally have a win, and and now it ends up with a cliffhanger. So who the next challenger is going to be? So it's Hercules on the god side versus Jack the Ripper. I'm not sure how this fight's going to go down. I was assuming it's going to be another god, so it's going to be, because they have a little whole sort of confrontation where Shiva's like, well, it's my turn now, and the Greek gods are like, well, unfortunately that's not the case. We have to basically have revenge for our fallen brother. So I assumed it's going to be either Hermes, Ares or Zeus, but in fact it's Hercules, which is a bit different because it's a demigod. So I thought it was going to be just gods, but I assume. But at the very beginning, you do get a list of all these different challenges, who's going to be on the human side and who's going to be on the god side. So Hercules was in that list, and obviously they've gone with Hercules here as well. So we'll see how this battle plays out. There is a whole moment where Hermes is speaking to Brunhilde, and so I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe some insider information, maybe some sort of like, back and forth, but we don't know. There's loads of things that I can't wait for season 2. Really enjoyed this anime. You guys should definitely check it out. This has been Ace. It's been a full review of season 1 of Record of Ragnarok, and good things to come, and again, more reviews. This has been Ace. As always, like, subscribe.